Hey, before spring break, I talked about the management organization plan, but I myself didn't pay as close of attention to the template. Uh, like I said at the start of the class, this one's kind of new to me, but it's got an interesting. It has a breakdown of an operational plan as well. It's page 15. And I want to run through that briefly today. I'll only take a few minutes because this is probably some of this stuff I had included with the management organization, and there's other parts of this, for example, location and whatnot, that I've typically included with the business description. So it's a little different from what I've done in the past, and I would argue that either can be appropriate. Like if you wanted to put the under the business description a more detailed version of the business location, that would be fine. But it could also certainly go here in the operational plan as they have in this particular outline. So anyhow, your operational plan should include this, of course, the daily operation of the business. All right, and this is just a heading that this is the stuff that we're going to go through, okay? But as with all the sections, you ought to have a little intro, okay, that tells these things, right? Okay, so production, yeah, and for each business, this will be, of course, different. If you're a coffee shop, and that's one that we have, okay, your production's going to be buying raw beans and grinding them. Maybe you're going to roast your own, okay? That I don't know, right? So walk me through that, okay? How will you handle quality control? That's been a big issue with some of the bigger restaurants like Chipotle lately, right? How are you going to handle quality control? What types of training are you going to give to your employees so that they, wash their hands, do those types of things, right? Other production techniques. I think one of my businesses is proposing to be a distillery. You're going to have some explaining to do, right? Walk me through that process a little bit, okay? And what it takes, okay? And I think down below we'll have suppliers, so you'll talk more about the ingredients and those types of things maybe. So read through this before. Before you start writing, make sure you read through it 2 or 3 times maybe. It's not that long. Just to make sure then that you're not putting something in one spot that maybe would more aptly go in another spot. So customer service, again, what kind of training are you going to give your employees? What kind of customer service are you going to supply? Inventory control. Now, and this may have a lot to do with your suppliers. Okay, if you can get supplies in 3 times a week, your inventory will be pretty minimal, right? You might say, I just need enough inventory for 3 days, 3 days worth of sales. Okay, and that might be what you put down. That gives you an extra day or something, maybe 4 days, right? In case you miss a shipment, you're still good. Okay. But those are the types of things that you should talk through, and let me know then how you plan to account for that inventory in your process. Okay, and then product development, new products, right? Are you going to have any kind of product development, any research and development? Again, you go back to the distillery. Well, we might start with whiskey, but yeah, we're going to look at maybe some Montana, huckleberry something. Huckleberry liqueur, or I don't know enough about booze. I'm a beer drinker. I do know quite a bit about beer, but the hard stuff not so much. So locations, and again, this is part that could end up in the business description. I guess if you're writing this operational plan, and you want to put this more in your business description, make a note of that for me. Something that you can change later. Highlight it, put a note in there. But what are the physical requirements? What's the amount of space? And this is a case where you can't get too detailed, right? How many square foot, the dimensions, it's 200 square feet. Well, it's 10 by 20, maybe it's 14 by 14 or something like that. Okay. What type of building is it? Are you renting a part of a bigger building? You're just renting a space in it? Is it detached? Is it attached? But, those types of things. What's the zoning? That's important to know. Hopefully you've called and asked if your proposed location will allow that. Okay, but you should know the zoning otherwise, right? If you're a daycare, which one of us is, is your location okay for daycares? Most are. Okay, what's that zoning called? It might be residential 1 or something like that. I'm not sure, but the city planner type of person, they can have, or that person is Doug Carricker, you might call and talk to. Power and utilities, who's going to provide those? Okay, what type? That's important. Please include in that internet, maybe. That's so important to now. Please include in that your phone or your hookup for point of sale equipment that you might have. Please include in that a credit card reader or what you're going to use for that. Okay, that's just become more and more important. If you're going to sell or make things available online, how are you going to do that? Okay, are you going to get an account set up with PayPal so people can just pay through PayPal and you'll get reimbursed then? Are you going to set up accounts through Visa, MasterCard, whatever? Make a few phone calls you might need to and figure out how those get set up. I can tell you they're kind of expensive. Okay, that getting set up to have a credit card thing can cost a little bit of money. Now, you might have to go back and change your financial plan, right? Because you might have an expense in there that you hadn't thought of. Okay, access is important, right? To be convenient to transportation or to suppliers. For a lot of ours, maybe not. Do you need easy walk-in access? For a lot of ours, maybe yes. Okay, drive-through. Do you need a drive-through? Right. Parking. For a lot of us, this proximity to these things probably aren't real important. But maybe for yours it's possible. Again, you'll have to tell me in that case, including a drawing or layout of your proposed facility. Sure. And there's probably some basic programs. I've fiddled around with a couple of them, I think, myself, but they more deal with homes. But you might be able to do just some real basic CAD type design, or you can hand draw it, right? How it's going to look. So, okay, construction. Are you going to build or leasehold improvements? Walk me through those. Cost estimate briefly here, because hopefully you put that at length in your financial narrative, right? Okay, and business hours. Yep, you know what the business hours are for sure. Okay, this type of stuff I kind of talked a little bit about in the management organization that I sent out. But what are licensing and bonding requirements? Are there any? For many of you, there are. Okay, so you need to walk me through that and maybe get started or present to me proof that you've done the background work into that. Maybe there is a certificate or something, or a blank license that you could include in the appendix, right? Permits would be the same, right? Walk me through that. Okay. Health, workplace, or environmental regulations. I know for several of you that's going to be the case. Special regulations covering your industry or profession. Daycare, that probably is. Again, zoning or building code requirements, and we kind of have that, but the zoning is one thing. You talked about that up above, but building code requirements, and again, and some people have already pointed it out in other sections, there might be some special requirements for amount of space that you have per child that you're watching, those types of things. Insurance coverage, yep. Got to tell me what that's going to take. Okay, hopefully that matches up with what you put in your financial estimates. If not, you might have to go back and change them. Trademarks, copyrights, or patents, if any. Okay. I don't know that I have too many that are doing that. Yeah, personnel. Okay. Number of employees. Are they skilled, unskilled, professional? That may talk a little bit about their specifications. Do they need a high school diploma? Do they need a degree? Can they be high school students? They're working part-time. That's fine. How and where are you going to find the right employees? What methods are you going to use? For some people it's word of mouth. For some people it's, through my church, through my organizations, those types of things. And that might be fine depending on the number of employees that you might need. The quality and who, is in existing staff, if you have any. Okay, the pay structure, how that's going to be set up, how people are going to earn raises, those types of things, training methods and requirements. Okay, who does the tasks? That's certainly important. I have had a number of projects in the past where they've actually included what the schedule is going to look like. Job descriptions, and the descriptions themselves may go in the appendix. That's fine. I doubt that you want them up here in the narrative, but it says, if you draft the job descriptions for employees, I'm sorry. If not, write some. Okay. One place to go, and I think I mentioned that before, is to maybe take a look here. Sorry, I'm gonna. It's called ONET. Yep, online. There it is. If you come here, okay, you can, and probably clicking on occupation search or something, by keyword, you can probably plug in, and you would be surprised how many are in here. Okay, and you would be surprised at how detailed job descriptions and those types of things can be. And so when I say that you ought to have job description, I know that sounds like it may be difficult. This will make it a whole lot easier if you come to this site. They've changed it a little bit from last year. I guess I teach this class once a year. So it's a little bit different. But I think if you do the find occupations, you'll be able to narrow it down pretty well. And when you click on that, it will not only tell you, I should go back, because it will give you a reasonably good start for the job description, but it'll also give you up here, this would be a type of labor, skilled, unskilled professional, is what we might call job specifications, what types of backgrounds those people might have, experience that they might be needed, in order to perform that kind of work. Okay. And then for certain functions, we'll use contract workers in addition to employees. At the bank, for example, we had contract cleaners. Right? We didn't have employees that cleaned the bank. We had contractors that came in after the bank was closed and did that work for us. And we had contract people to clear our sidewalks and parking lot when it snowed. Okay, and so that's what that's talking about. If you might have some contract folks in certain places, depending on where you're at, in Havre, if you're within the city limits, you get to the city actually takes care of all the garbage collection and whatnot. We pay taxes for that. In some locations, you have to have private people do that. Okay, so. Inventory, again, what kind, average value, 2 days, 3 days, and what's the dollar amount, put dollar amounts on those. Rate of turnover, how fast are you going to turn over your inventory? How's that compared to industry averages? So, if your inventory is 25,000 and your sales are estimated to be 100,000 for the year, you're turning your inventory over 4 times, right? And it really just depends on, the type of business. Some businesses, convenience stores, have extremely rapid turnover. Okay, it might be 12 or 15 or 20 times per year, whereas other businesses, it be much slower. Grocery stores have very rapid turnover, but compare that to more of a specialty type of a store, probably a lot less turnover. Okay, do you need to build up for certain seasons? And again, get back to the lead time for ordering. That's kind of why I was talking a little bit about this up above, and yet, it's more specific down here. So up above might deserve a mention, down here might be more specific. And what that means is, for example, Kevin Helgard comes in and talks about Dairy Queen often, and his is set up where Sunday night he can sit down on his computer and place his order, and Tuesday the stuff shows up. It's a once a week deal. Okay, so I imagine that he probably keeps on hand enough inventory for maybe 2 weeks. Yeah, it probably depends on, if he's got the room and the space, to store that. But he probably wants to have extra, make sure that he doesn't have stockouts, and make sure he doesn't have stockouts even in the event that there's a delay or something in receiving his inventory. So he probably orders an extra, and that's kind of what I want to know is, how often are you going to order, and what kind of inventory extras are you going to keep on hand. Suppliers, in some cases this will be really important. Who your key suppliers are going to be. You should know. In some places like daycare, you probably don't have a supplier, right? You're going to get some supplies that you're going to buy at Walmart or IGA, right? Some extra diapers and those types of things that maybe some of your customers might forget to supply or whatever, okay? And lots of paper towels and hand wipes, right? And you'll probably get those locally, right? And that's fine. Okay, others of you have more, you need to identify more specifically who your suppliers are going to be, okay? Should you have more than one, shortages, etc. We get the credit policies down here, and this you may have discussed these in your financial narrative, and if so, I don't need it here. But if you're looking through this and saying this might apply to me, you may want to put something in here or in the narrative, the financial narrative. I'm sorry. Most of you will probably not be selling on credit. Okay, most of you probably will not. You'll probably instead accept credit cards, checks, cash, those types of things. Okay, and in most cases that's just fine. If you have a coffee shop, you have no reason to be selling on credit. Okay. For some of you though, there will be a little bit of credit. Even the daycare, well, they're maybe going to pay you after the 2 weeks that they've been there or something. Okay. How are you going to handle some of these questions then? Their credit worthiness. You're going to take a chance. You're going to let them get 30 days behind, or you're going to let them do those types of things. So it should be discussed, and it should match up with what you have probably on your financials. Remember, on your financials there was that additional inputs page, and on there you got to select what you were going to do for your credit policy. Okay. Again, most of you probably won't have anything in there, so it's not a big deal. And accounts payable, similarly, some of you will set up accounts probably, and you might be able to set some up fairly early. Honestly, for a lot of new businesses, they're going to want cash ahead of time. Okay, and so it's going to be very, very difficult to age your accounts payable to get 30 days to pay. For most new businesses, they're going to probably require that you pay them when they deliver the inventory. So, okay, and then we get down to management organization, and that's some stuff that I had talked about before. Although I don't know that I talked about this. Most of you won't have this board of directors management, but these are important. Who is going to be your attorney? Or do you need an attorney? Will you seek one out? Accountant, insurance agent, a banker maybe, or bank at least, consultant or consultants maybe if you need some, and you have some mentors or key advisors. So again, also I would start up here in the management and organization, repeat that probably what's not in here that needs to be is the key people and what their qualifications need to be, and how those are covered by the resumes, right, that you're going to be putting into the appendix. And you definitely need to talk about that. So that should be added to this section, definitely. I wonder, let's see here. Oops, I'm going to come down here. Personnel. Yeah, let's go. Oh, shoot. Yeah, let's try again here. Maybe I can do this. Key employees, RE resumes. Okay, and qualifications. Dang, I thought that would correct that for me, but maybe not. Oh, I know how it does. If I add a something like that, maybe. Yeah, shoot. Yeah, I'll get that fixed. But anyhow, yeah, you should definitely talk about the key employees, which includes owners, right? And any other managers that you might have. So please make sure you include those. Okay, that's enough for that. In fact, a lot longer than I thought I would go. So thanks, and I'll look forward to seeing these from you hopefully this weekend.